Hey YouTube, it's Jay. I'm sure that some of you have been wondering what's going on with CompForce and why has it been several months since my last video. Um, Frankly, I've been having some health issues, actually some pretty serious ones. And I'm not quite out of the woods on those yet. If you look, I'm sure you can tell I've lost a lot of weight. Year and a half ago, I was 225 pounds. Earlier this year, in my last video, I was 165. I'm now down under 140. That's actually a good thing, and it was deliberate. One of the challenges that I had was very, very, very high blood sugar. Basically type 2 diabetes. And I want to tell you, I did a lot of research. I'm a data person. I've mentioned that before. That's what I do for a living in my non-pool career. I went on the carnivore diet, a very strict version of the carnivore diet, which is red meat, high saturated fats, a lot of eggs, a lot of bacon, a lot of steak and fatty meats, almost no carbs, no added sugar, nothing processed. So grain oils like vegetable oil or canola oil completely out of the diet. As of this month, I am back to normal blood sugar levels, and I'm beginning to add carbs back in, but only healthy carbs from things like vegetables. So not out of the woods yet, but definitely gotten better. I do absolutely recommend looking into the low carb diets, the low carb, keto, ketovore, carnivore. Every single one of my labs, my blood labs, got better, with the exception of LDL cholesterol, which is expected to go up when you change your diet this way. But now from a metabolic health standpoint, I'm much healthier than I was back in February through April when I started this diet. Look into it. It's amazing. Now that said, I don't buy into these restrictive diets and restrictive ways of life. So like I said, I'm starting to add things back in, but I'm actually doing what they call continuous glucose monitor. You can see it there on my arm. It's measuring my blood sugar all the time, and that allows me to try something, see what the effect of my blood sugar is immediately, how fast it recovers, and over the next few days. And so I'm doing a very scientific way of approaching how my personal metabolism works with regard to blood sugar. But I'm in the healthy range now as far as that part. I've still got a couple of other issues to deal with, including some more challenges with my vision, and some other things like that. So that's what's been going on. That's why I have not been doing videos. I did do for the tournament that I did. The first video is posted up. I will put a link below for that. I will be doing reviews on those videos. You can see my table is taken apart. So I'm doing two things to my table this time. It was due for recovering, and I actually went a step further. Mark Gregory, who you may or may not have heard of, he is the top table, if not the top, he's one of the very best table mechanics in the US, if not the world. He's an amazing craftsman who takes a lot of pride in his work, and he does things perfectly. He's the guy that redid Earl's Brunswick, his antique Brunswick. Mark Gregory's the guy that did that Earl speaks so highly about. He happens to be local to me in Atlanta, so he's doing my rails. He is going to be reducing the pockets to 4 1/8 inches, all the way around, all 6 pockets. Will be 4 1/8 inches, and they will literally be perfect. Mark consults with Brunswick on a regular basis, and there may be some news there that I'll talk about shortly or in another video. But he is an amazing table mechanic. Highly recommend him. Now, I will tell you that his personality is very direct and not quite PC, so he may offend some of you. But if you want your rails done, he's the guy. And believe me, I talked to tons of people, including just about every pro and room owner in the places that I go, and every single one of them, without fail, said if you're going to have work done on your rails, and are going to have somebody make them tighter and play the way a rail is supposed to play, Mark's the guy. So that's who's doing my rails. Hopefully they'll be back in a couple of weeks and I can do some videos on the differences between the way my rails were and the way they are. Mark did not recommend a 4-inch pocket. He recommended 4 1/8. He did recommend that I continue to use Artemis rails over the super speeds. I asked him the question, if this was your table, which rails would you put on it? He said Artemis. They're more expensive, but they're worth it. So that's what I'm doing with my rails. They picked up the rails yesterday, and hopefully it'll only be a couple of weeks before I get them back. The other thing I'm doing with the table is I'm putting Andy Cloth has a new cloth called Andy Premier. That's what I'm putting on the table. It is supposedly about the same speed as Simona's 860 HR. And because of the way that they manufacture it, I have some expectations about how it's going to play. I will review that cloth and the rail work by Mark when the rails come back in and we recover the table.
So I know y'all, and I know that you probably want to see some racks. So let's go ahead. So I had not played. I didn't play 100 racks in the 8 months because of the issues that I've been having, and I got off to a rocky start. Of course, my brake, no real power in it. My aim was off, and I end up with this long shot on the one. Uh, not a great shot to have to shoot, especially where the two is. It really only has 2 pockets I've got to get to, and well, yep, I just missed it. A little while later, um, a little bit later, okay, nothing on the brake. From where I'm sitting, I have to bank the one. I decide that I'm going to hedge my bets. By the way, this is 4 o'clock in the morning, so please excuse the hair and me not dressing up. This was for me practicing. I really wasn't planning on putting it on YouTube. So I make the one, but my hedge on the 2 leaves me with this weird kick. So I make the kick. Now I've got this super thin angle on the 3, and my idea is, well, I'm just going to make it and kind of take what I get. I bump the 6. That's a good bump. So from here, I should be out. In any normal day, I'd be out here. If you watch the stroke, though, I lift up on it. That's bad, and So I put the 4 down and I continue on because that's what you do when you practice. Make the 5, play for the 6. I don't really like this angle. I've got to play inside English to keep the cue ball under control. I could try to get between the 8 and 9, but that's risky, so just play inside English and hold it up. Here I'm going to take what I got. I'm just going to bounce off the rail to make the 8. This is one of those specialty shots I talked about in the draw ways to use drag draw. I'm going to drag this so that the spin dies just as it makes contact. That kills the cue ball, leaves me the shot on the 9, and I'm out. So if I had made that 4, I'd have been out here. Horrible stroke. Am starting to warm up a little bit by this point. So better break. I left myself long on the 2. And this rack is a perfect example of better lucky than good. I'm going to tell you right now, this is very, very lucky. And I deserve not to get out on this rack. I've got to bank the 2. I only have half of it. There's your long way around, the 2 rail shot. And it actually goes in. That's just pure luck. I meant to make the 2 up in the top left corner. I missed. Now I've got to go up and down the table, and I've got to stay between the 6 and the 9. There's not a good way to do that and get around and get on the 3. So I get my leave on the 3. I'm stretching inside English. I've got to stay inside the 6. I'm fortunate that I do. By all rights, I should have been directly behind that 6 ball. Make the 4, leave myself a good shot on the 5. You saw I took the two rails to get a straight in shot on the 5. Good shot there. I overcooked this a little bit. I'm on a decent side of the 6. I can roll in, and I'll leave the 9 straight in. There it is. That's a touch shot. I hate having to shoot that. Most times I'll opt to go around the 9 and shoot it from the other side because it's just easier to control. Don't know why I chose the way I did, but I did. Alright, another rack a little bit later. Get a good break, except I can't see the 2, so I've got to jump at it. Here we go, jump shot. This is with a jump cue. You know how much I hate jump cues, but here it is. Make the shot, but I leave this long shot on the 3. Ultimately, I'm not going to make that shot, so I'm going to just move on to the next rack. I tried the 3 and missed. So now I'm starting to see the angles. I'm starting to see the shots. I'm looking at this. I've got a little bare edge of the 1. I could try to throw it, but if I do, I'm going to deflect towards the 7. To make this, I would have to use top English with a whole lot of speed. I'd have to let the cue ball go around the table. I'm thinking about that. I'm like, wait, this is actually sitting pretty good for the 2 rail and the side shot. So I line it up, double check it. Looks good. I hate that I'm shooting over a ball to make a 2 rail kick, but goes in like a champion. I get this bad leave on the 2. So this is a bank to the side pocket, and I'm going to try to come 3 rails out for the 3 in the corner, but I'm going to hit the 6. I get a fortunate leave there. I again should be out on this rack from this point. I'm in line now. I can just roll this 3 in, take the long shot on the 5. I put a little bit of of right-hand English to get closer to the 5. Now we've got the standard, draw this across to the side rail on the other side and leave the 6, but I just miss it. So still definitely rusty. And I'm going to show you something here in this rack that is part of what's going on. It shows up here where you can really see it. Watch my back arm on this shot. Watch my back arm. You can see here I've developed a tremor in my arm. You can see my elbow shake right there. That's not good. It's making things harder than it should be. That's happened because I've lost so much muscle mass in my wonderful last 8 months. So make the 2 come up. I really don't want to hit the 6. I'll be okay if I hit it as long as I'm not behind the 7. Now I look at the 6 in the side. It does not pass the 8, so I'm going to have to draw back for the 6 in the bottom left corner. I don't want to stop it and try the top left because the 7 ball is really risky. So I'm going to go ahead and draw for position on this. I overdrew that just a little bit. So now I need to go to the rail and come out. And I can either go for the 7 in the same corner or the 7 in the opposite corner. I choose the same corner. I don't get to the rail. I wanted to get to the rail and bounce. I didn't. But now I've got an angle where I can shoot the 7 and come out for the 8. Yeah, that was a little careless. I should have done something to avoid that 8. Maybe even gone around it and shot it in the same corner again. So here, this is a little touchy. What I've got to do is I've got to hit this slow so that the draw takes effect, and I don't. Alright, so moving on to the next rack. Scratch in the side. It's unfortunate. So don't want to waste the break, so I'm going to go ahead and take ball in hand and shoot it. I put it on that side of the 1 because it's easier to judge the angle going forward here. This is just I want to roll forward. I want to bounce off the rail. I want to make sure that I don't get behind the 8. That's really the only thing I have to worry about here. I'll take whatever I get. Now, I would prefer to have an angle to come around the 8 for the 3. And I get my angle, so a little bit of low left here. It's actually stun back left. Gets me around the 8. I don't want to go too far. And by doing the stun, instead of trying to draw it, I end up with a shot on the 3. I come out for the 4. Okay, got to come way across to get the angle, but that's fine. This is a decent shot. 2 rails out for the 6. I want an angle. This angle came out pretty much perfect. I'm just going to roll the 6 in and bounce off the rail. This angle came out really bad. So I wanted to go around the 9 or to come back 2 rails for the 8. I am exactly on the 50-yard line. I have to put top left. The left is to ensure that I hit the correct side of the 9. I couldn't get away from it, but I could hit the correct side. Now, a lot of people will back cut this. I actually like this shot. I think it's easy to make that shot, and it lets me hold the cue ball for the 9. All right, pocket the 9. Here we go, next rack, scratch in the side, 9 ball falls in. Yep, almost a golden break, but nope. Again, the break wasn't working the same way this afternoon as it was in the morning. Okay, you'll notice I put this on the short side of the 1. I don't put it in the side and then try to roll around for this 2 in the bottom right. I put it on the short side because it's always easier to judge that follow and the angle than it is going forward than it is going back. Give myself just a little angle so that the cue doesn't follow in the side. I'm going to roll to the rail and bounce is the intent. There we go. Get to the side. All right. This is a little weird position because of where the 9 is. I'm going to run into the 9. I've got to go forward on this. So I hit it to try to just barely brush the 9. Took a little bit too much speed off the ball. Now I'm going to run into the 9 again. There's nothing I can do about that except try to get the best angle I can and make sure that the 9 and the 8 don't freeze to each other. Little bit of a wonky angle here. I can't draw around the 8. I've got to go 2 rails for the 6 in the side. And if you look at this angle, if I stop it, I'm going to be dead straight on the 7. So I've got to let this go forward. I want to go about 2 inches forward on this, just basically stun through it. And I don't do it. I don't execute that. Now I've got a little bit of a weird angle on the 7. I've just got to get out past the 9. That's all I can do is guarantee that I'm not behind the 9. I take a look at where the stun's going to be. Okay, so this is a soft shot, stunning off the rail for the 9 in the side. Should be out here. But this is just a few minutes into the practice session, and I just missed that. No excuses, just missed it. All right, next rack. So I think I mentioned earlier, better lucky than good. Break kind of sort of works, but not really. Everything's kind of tied up with each other, so that I only have one pocket on each of these shots, and I've got to start off with this bank. So on this bank, you're using top inside English, and you're trying to shorten it up. And I do that, and I hit it so bad, I don't know if you saw it, but it actually skidded. When the cue ball hit the 2, it was in the air, causing the 2 to bounce. I got lucky, it went in. So now make the 3. I drop for the 4. This 4 is pretty straight, but I've got a little bit of angle. I can go forward 2 rails around the 9, looking to set up the 5 in the side. Okay, definitely on the wrong side of this 5. When you get this shot, a lot of people are tempted to go straight up and down. Don't. You'll see I hit this with left-hand English. I hit it badly with left-hand English and got lucky. I was actually reaching in the pocket for the ball because I thought I missed and it went in. Like I said, better lucky than good. No doubt about it. That was luck. I got my shot. Roll up for the 8. Now I can just bounce off the rail and take the 9. Maybe a hair of right-hand English just to get make sure I stay on top of the 9. And so ends that rack. Definitely better lucky than good. Okay, on to the next rack. So make a couple balls on the break. I normally don't want that 1 to go in. I got lucky that the 2 ball lined up for me. This actually now should be a routine run for me. 2 up in the bottom right corner as you're looking at it. Just roll it forward, take what I get on the 4. I'm going to have a decent angle. I could stun this just to guarantee my angle on the 4. Okay, this one's a little touchy because I've got to go, I can't go forward, I've got to go bottom right, and I've got to come past the 7. And my English has to die on the rail. Okay, so I've got a pretty thin cut on this 5. A lot of people will force this. Don't. Just roll it. Take the angle on the 6. Okay, now this is top right English. I'm going to go around the 7 for my shot. I'm not going to go with top and try to get between the 7 8. I'm going to put the English to get around the 7. I got a pretty decent angle on it. I'm going to have to go forward to get my leave on the 8. play the 8 for the side. Here I kind of got a weird angle. So some people, I'm not going to try to force this. The 9's in front of the pocket. I'm just going to make the 8. I'll take the long shot on the 9 with the 9 right by the pocket like that. And with that routine run, I'm out. And one more to wrap us up. Uh, this this day was pretty rough for me. I hit about half the shots I would normally hit. So break didn't work. I could bank this back, but if I do, I'm not going to get a leave on the 2. That would be a very tough leave on the 2. So I'm going to take ball in hand on this. This is the last rack of the day. I've been shooting kind of iffy. Not real happy with how I shot. I had some decent shots, but I missed a lot of shots that I shouldn't. So you'll notice I put the cue ball under the 1 ball. It's easier to judge these angles, especially when you have to be precise going forward rather than backward. Okay, so I've got the 2. Just going to get up there. I hit the 5. I didn't want to hit the 5. I wanted to roll past the 5. I'm kind of glad I didn't because I think the speed would have put me behind it. Now I've got a thinner cut on the 4, so I've got to go 1 rail out and just get the best angle I can on this 5. My thought here is the carom from the 6 making the 9 in the corner is pretty good. I'm going to roll forward to the rail and out. I underhit this. I landed on the 50-yard line. It's too thin to carom, so the only shot here is to play the kick combo. I'm going to kick into the 6 and cut the 9 in the corner. And with that, I just wrap up my day. I'm done.
With that, please go over, check out the other channel, check out the tournament footage. I'm commentating on that footage, and I'm going to have some special guests along the way to help me commentate. The first video is up. Hopefully this weekend I can put the second video up. And with that, I'm going to let you go. Have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.